Good morning, Mr. Chairman and honorable committee members. My name is Molly Burtis, and I am a former teacher and aspiring social worker at DU's GSSW program. When I think of both teaching and being a student in our schools today, the first word that comes to mind is exhausting. Teachers are exhausted by the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations, as are our children. I am testifying today to impress upon the members of this committee the crucial importance of leaving behind harmful exclusionary discipline practices. To clarify, exclusionary discipline refers to any action that removes a child from their learning environment. I recommend that these tired and detrimental policies be replaced with healing and empowering restorative justice practices. Supporting the implementation of a restorative justice approach to discipline changes not only the climate and culture of our schools, but of our entire community. Education is one of the core values I hold most dear. So when I see all of the missed opportunities in our education system, the way our teachers are underpaid and overworked, the way our schools don't have enough funding to simply supply our classrooms with pencils, the way our teachers are being forced to teach to the test, and the way discipline practices have become harsher and more exclusionary over time, I become enraged. We have created school learning environments that stifle creativity, innovation, and collaboration, the values we pretend to hold most dear as Americans. It is difficult to understand why the country with the world's largest economy since 1871, with a GDP of $20.5 trillion, cannot or will not allocate more funding to our schools. While we are failing everyone in our education system, let me be more specific about who we are failing most. Increasingly, harsh discipline policies and the presence of law enforcement in schools funnel youth into the criminal justice system at a young age. Black adolescents are disproportionately impacted by exclusionary discipline practices, and consequently, these youth are also disproportionately targeted by the juvenile justice system. Let's take a look at some figures. According to the Department of Education, in the 2011 to 2012 school year, Black boys were 3 times more likely than white boys to be suspended, and Black girls were 6 times more likely to be suspended than white girls. While these figures should be enough to convey the racial prejudice and inequities that exist, let me further underscore the point. Federal civil rights investigations have found that Black students are punished more harshly than white students in schools, even when Black and white students engage in identical behavior. As a result of being disproportionately targeted by exclusionary discipline practices, Black students lost 103 days per 100 students enrolled, 82 more days than their white peers lost due to out-of-school suspensions. Let's switch gears to look at school staffing. According to the 2015 to 2016 Civil Rights Data Collection from the US Department of Education, millions of students are in schools with police officers but no support staff. In fact, 14 million students are in schools with police but no counselor, no nurse, no school psychologist, or social worker. Even our schools that offer mental health services are still grossly understaffed. 90% of students are in public schools that fail to meet the minimum requirements for staffing mental health professionals. Yet in those schools with a significant lack of health support staff, law enforcement presence is flourishing. So what does this all mean? Deep loss of community, learning, and opportunity. This issue is particularly poignant as it rests at the juncture of 2 of the most detrimental threats to communities of color across our country: mass incarceration and the continued undereducation of children of color. This is why I'm calling upon this committee to take massive action to overhaul our education system. My recommendations are as follows: overhaul public school discipline policy, implement wide-scale restorative justice practices as the primary approach to discipline in schools. Included in this recommendation would be the provision of funding to staff restorative justice counselors in all schools. A school climate grounded in restorative justice makes teaching a life-giving rather than life-draining career. It creates a learning environment that gives dignity, voice, and respect to our marginalized and special needs students. It is imperative that the implementation of the restorative justice practices go hand in hand with training in equity, mindfulness, and trauma. Finally, an additional recommendation would include the provision and requirement of a civics curriculum in all public schools. This additional recommendation is founded in empowerment theory. It is important to empower our students to know their rights and teach them how to communicate their concerns. This is how we raise a future generation of people who know how to use their voice to fight for their rights. Overhauling our education system will create ripple effects in the years to come that will be nothing short of transformative on every level of society. It will achieve the ever elusive goal of creating communities where every human being can feel safe, respected, connected, and heard. I implore our representatives to take action with a sense of urgency that is reflective of the severity of this social problem. I would like to thank you, committee members, for your time today and your service. To conclude, let us all heed the words of one of our great civil rights activists and social justice leaders, Malcolm X. Education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare it for today. Thank you.